trying to do more podcasts, so we're getting to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so this is episode 5, right? No,
Uh,
episode 4.
4, yeah.
So we announced that episode 4 was going to be with Frank, but then we decided to do an in-between episode. So Frank is going to be episode 5.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm excited to get Frank on here. Big Frank.
Big Frank.
Yep. Interesting guy. Interesting man.
Yeah,
A man of many experiences.
quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah, so here we are. It's February 2nd, 2025.
True.
What do you want to get into, man? How's life?
I guess I'll just talk about my day, I guess, and kind of flutter it from there. But I woke up pretty early and went to a hot yoga class. There were so many people like in the class before me, and it was just wild, like seeing everybody pour out of the room. Like I was just sitting there being like, "Holy crap!"
Wow.
Just like, and it's a big room, but it seemed like there were like more people. Like the classic like clown car pulls up and like 50 clowns get out of the car. You're like, what the hell? It felt like that. I was just like, what the hell? So then when all those people come out, I look and there's a line out the door for the next class.
Wow.
I'm like, holy crap. So I grab my stuff and try to get a good spot right away. But it was a great class.
And that's pretty cool. A lot of people doing yoga.
Definitely. Yeah. It's
Nice.
Yeah, it was like half and half with the difficulty level. Like I feel like a lot of people couldn't, halfway through a lot of people were like done. You know what I mean? And that's cool. Like I was at that point at level 2 for a long time. But it's hot, so obviously it's more difficult. But yeah, a lot of people were like done, and I felt like I wanted more. Like I was like I wish the teacher would crank it up even more.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to handle your, what you require.
Maybe, yeah. I've been doing it for a while, so.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the teachers they're teaching something that most of the people in the class are not capable of doing.
Yeah, that's kind of the point though. Like you want to push up against your edge. I always felt very drawn to the things that I couldn't do. Like if my brain is like, this is really hard, I know that that's what I need to do. That's like an obvious arrow to what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are also like disappointed if they're not as flexible as maybe one of those poses requires of somebody, and then is flexibility super important?
Well, I feel like with flexible poses, you progress really quick. I've always felt that way. Like seeing people start and continuing to go to classes and see them start to be able to. I feel like people get it within like a month. They're like, you're like, what the hell, is this the same person?
Yeah.
But there are just some poses that some people's bodies just can't do right away. Don't want to do. Like I have like around like 3-year practice, and I still can't do a full split. Like there's just certain things that are just going to take a really long while to get.
Absolutely. I've always been very flexible, but there's still some poses that I cannot do, like serious ankle inversions and things like that, where your ankle is totally twisted.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, those particular poses are hard for me. I've never been good at handstands. I've always had like a lack of that upper body strength that's needed for somebody my size. So, I could do one up against the wall, or I could do a brief handstand, but I'm not somebody who could like hold handstand for a long time.
Yeah, I feel like it's not even strength that lets you hold a handstand. It's more of just like that sort of. It's more of just like your brain like equilibrium, like because you're not really you're holding just as much weight by walking. You're just kind of. It's actually a lot of finger strength.
Yeah,
being able to like
right.
push.
My wrists are what I get swollen wrists.
Yeah.
My wrist will like swell
That'll
up.
definitely stop you.
Yeah, I think I have like a little hypermobility in my joints. So when my wrists are, all of that pressure is on my wrists, I think, there's like a fluid that kind of accumulates there, and then it's all swollen and painful for a while.
Could you like acu to help that at all?
I do. I definitely do that to myself, but you don't want to like injure yourself and then try to repair the injury constantly. Like,
true, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a little excessive.
Yeah.
You want to not injure yourself in the first place.
Totally, yeah. My first yoga teacher was always the type of person who was like, you get an injury, like, don't even think about it, just can keep doing it. Like, he's one of those people.
I know, I see his videos. He's cool. I mean, and hey, I'm probably sure that there are probably people who subscribe to that ideology as well.
Yeah. Totally. One of the main things, because he used to walk barefoot, and he always used to talk about how painful that was to start doing it, and then doing it in the cold and doing it in the snow, and he just said, like, he almost like broke through one day where he was just like walking on ice, and he's just like, I'm good now, and his feet just finally like calloused up enough to be able to sort of do it. That always amazed me.
Yeah, and like, that's somebody's thing, I get it. As far as like health goes, that's probably not the wisest choice to make, you know? Yeah. I could go into the reasons why, but I think,
I was gonna say from like an acupunctural standpoint, like, or a Chinese medicine standpoint, like, what is bad about that?
Well, I mean, you're absorbing all of the, you're absorbing the environment through kidney 1, which is an acupuncture point on the bottom of the foot.
Okay.
Your feet absorb everything that you walk on, so when you're grounding and you're in the dirt, you get those positively charged ions, and that helps with your overall health and well-being. It could have a calming effect on you. But if you're walking on ice, you're just putting cold into your kidney channel. That could damage your kidneys. The kidneys are supposed to be warm.
Okay.
So that's not good.
Yeah.
And then there's all kinds of harmful bacteria and chemicals and oils and things on the floor that you really don't want to walk on. You don't want to have fungus or some kind of bacterial infection on your foot, or an open wound on your foot that you're just walking in filth. Like, hey.
Yeah.
And what is the benefit in the end for doing that? So you could say that I walk everywhere barefoot, or like what kind of benefit is there?
Right. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So be careful, you barefoot walkers.
Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe I don't know enough about it to say it doesn't look like a good idea, but I do know why it's a good idea. I know why it's not a good idea to some degree. So I wear, shoes most of the time. If I go to the beach, or if I'm, I do take my shoes off. Obviously, I walk around barefoot when it's appropriate. But to go everywhere barefoot, like to walk into 7-Eleven barefoot, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's not wise. People spit their gum out on the floor. People spit on the floor. It's definitely a health hazard.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, not really the greatest. So, I know that, some relationship stuff was coming up, and we were talking about how a big issue between people is really strong, effective communication. At least that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have major communication issues.
Sure.
A lot of it comes from shame. You're too ashamed to tell someone what you really feel or what you really need, because you're afraid of being judged by that person. And I also think that we just judge each other constantly because we have this like set of beliefs that we have about what we think we need. Like, I think I need a partner or a friend or a parent who fits this certain criteria based on things that I've learned. But that might not be possible, you know? And it's definitely not going to be possible that somebody meets all of the criteria.
Right. Yeah. Trying to like get this ideal partner could like backfire a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, we're not ideal, so to like want somebody who's ideal for, like, if I want someone who's ideal for me, I mean, I'm married, but like, if I wanted somebody who is like ideal for me and I was out there looking for someone, I'm not ideal to me, right? So I'm gonna find somebody with the same distortions that I have.
Yeah.
And usually they'll go unhealed if they're constantly being mirrored back at you, and neither you or your partner or your friend are willing to change in any way.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're just enabling your behavior at that point.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That really is fascinating. That, like, because it's like a lot of yogis would say, like, we're never fully healed in this, you know, like, how can you become ideal to yourself but opening up the possibility of meeting sort of a partner who you could like grow with. I'm not saying they're going to be like perfect in every way that you might imagine, but you know, can we get to a level of being, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, the answer that's coming to me is you have to really like need nothing from that person.
Yes, I'm feeling that.
If
recently,
you need absolutely nothing, then you're there just for the sake of having a really great time.
Yeah.
Or having a companion.
Love
whatever that looks like for you. But if you need something from that person in order to feel complete, you're never going to be able to, you know, pull that thing out of them and put it inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a big problem. I see, you know, I used to do a lot more relationship coaching. I did a session with somebody the other day, and it was very typical male-female dynamics that play out, that, you know, both people kind of have awareness of their partner, but like not a lot of self-awareness. And you know, this particular person who was a female, she really wanted me to tell her how she could do better. But a lot of her behavior was actually normal for a woman, right? Men and women behave differently. So it's complicated because men have to really understand how women behave, and women have to understand how men behave, and there has to be some kind of meeting in the middle where we know that we're never going to behave like one another. Like a man is not going to behave like a woman,
right,
and a woman is not going to behave like a man in that type of relationship. Obviously there are same-sex relationships and all of that, but we're talking between a man and a woman, we're talking about like two different species, and one of them wants you to be more like them and the other one wants you to be more like them, but yet neither one will ever be like each other. So this is a very complicated thing, and the solution is you have to really lose your individuality in like a relationship like that, in a very serious relationship where you're no longer an I, you have to become an us, where everything is for the relationship, for the us. When you have two individual egos, those egos are always going to battle with each other. You have to have a collective intention all the time, and that intention is the togetherness. It's we are a couple, and we do things as a couple. Right? Once one person starts doing something as an I again, it separates that dynamic, and then there's going to be some kind of problem. And what I will tell you is that literally no one wants to surrender to this. No one I've coached, no one I know, I've never seen a relationship. Well, that's not true. I mean, there are relationships out there, like, now that I think about it, but for the most part, there's always someone who doesn't want to surrender in the relationship to the us.
Yeah.
That's probably like the biggest reason why people argue in relationships. It's because the focus of the us is lost, and then one person is just focusing on the I, and then the other person has no choice but to focus on the I.
So one thing that's coming to mind is, like, do you think staying single for a really long time could be sort of bad in that way of, like, you know, because it's hard to turn your life into like an us when you've been living for you for like a very long time, so maybe like a few years?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people say, oh, you have to be single until you meet the right person. Or it's okay to be single for as long as it takes until that right person comes into your life. Well, like you were, insinuating, if you're used to living on your own, you've already accepted all of your habits and behaviors. You don't have anybody telling you to change, so you may not think there's any reason to change. And then you're going to go into the relationship with this massive ego, thinking that this person just wants to change me, because there's stuff that we're always going to bother someone with something that we do, always. So as soon as somebody tells you, hey, I don't like this, that person is either going to leave, or they're going to get upset, or there's going to be a fight. And it's very rare that those things actually get resolved in a situation like that, because that person has never had to change before.
Right.
At least not for somebody else. Maybe for like a team or school or something like that, but it's a little bit different in a relationship.
Right.
We also want to meet somebody who accepts us for the way that we are. So you may think, wow, I finally found someone who really loves me for me. And then the next thing you know, they have a whole list of demands that they want you to change all of these things about you, and it catches you off guard.
Right.
Like the first month or two is usually like that honeymoon phase, and then all of a sudden you have a partner who's like, hey, this thing that you do really bothers me. It totally catches you off guard.
Yeah. They haven't had that happen in a while. Yeah.
And then you're like, what do you mean? I thought you liked everything about me. So, yeah, I mean, what you said before the podcast, how certain times our partner sets us up for failure in a way.
Totally. Yeah, sabotage the relationship.
Yeah. When you're caught off guard, you're being set up for failure. So again, effective communication.
I feel like a lot of it has to do with subconsciously creating drama, because the dissatisfaction of just, I don't know, this modern way of life, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are addicted to drama.
Right. I feel like that's a big part of it. Yeah.
All of the shows on TV, they all have some dramatic plot.
Totally. Yeah.
The relationships that we admire. What's exploited the most? The drama between the two people. It somehow makes it to the tabloids or the newspaper. So, think about Shakespeare. Everything in this like play of human interaction involves some type of drama. See, I think like the best thing you could do is get used to it. Expect there to be drama. Now, if you expect there to be drama and your goal is direct and effective communication, then you're going to be much better off than somebody without that goal. One thing that I've been doing that has been something I didn't do in the past, and I'm still working on it, is when something is going the way you didn't expect it to, validate that other person first. Or if that person needs something, they need to talk to you about something, and you might be like analyzing the situation, and you've probably seen me do this wrong 100 times. You know, we'll use me as an example where maybe I was really quick to start giving advice. Well, lately I've been trying to validate everyone first.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm sorry. That really sucks. You know, I feel you on that. I feel you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't think that's cool. Whatever. That validation sometimes is enough for the person to not even want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, cool. Somebody has allowed me to feel heard.
Yeah. And it's almost like contagious too, like because even you doing that for conversations that we've had is it almost shines a light on it because it feels so good. So it's like, oh, now I know to do that. Like I know to validate first. You know, I'm feeling like I'm more inclined to actually do that.
And I don't always do that.
Totally, yeah.
You know?
You might just jump right into some advice or something.
Right. Or if you're like in a heated situation, you might start blame shifting or blaming your partner or not validating them purposely. You know, playing these kinds of power struggles start to happen. You know.
Right.
So why do you think that happens? Why are there power struggles in relationships between men and women when we're so different?
Yeah. Lately I've been feeling like the drama thing is a big, plot point of it. Like the stimulation they get, that your partner might get out of having a problem that they now have to solve. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with just not having hobbies. A lot of people just don't have hobbies, so they they make the relationship into this giant complex thing when it's not. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big theme, that I see at least.
Yeah, and I think that certain times, like maybe in a new relationship, it's exciting because there's all this intimacy. And then when the intimacy kind of fades a bit, that's when the drama starts. Because the excitement dwindles, and now the partner needs a new reason to get that stimulation, get that dopamine. And it could be through, arguing or causing some kind of fight.
Totally, yeah.
Now there's excitement again, and now you get to make up. So it creates this cycle of fighting and then making up.
Trauma.
Yeah. And then your relationship is living one drama or one trauma to the next.
Yeah.
Instead of one joy to the next, or one, excitement to the next, or one opportunity to the next.
Yeah.
Now it's just one fight to the next, and eventually, you can't stop looking at that, and then you think that there's something completely wrong with the other person.
Right. I feel like just as humans, we need something to be able to. We need like a puzzle. We need something to figure out, and a lot of the time in a relationship, now all of a sudden, you or your partner could turn it into like this puzzle that you're trying to figure out, and it's a person. It's not a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's
because you're looking at all of the events that occurred and not the person.
Wait, like we had this conversation, like what does this all mean? Like let me break down every sentence and every word, and it's like instead of doing that, why don't you like draw or something? Why don't you like just do, there's a million different things to do, and then all of a sudden when you do that thing, like for me it's painting, I work out all my issues within the painting, and then I can come back to my partner and be like refreshed, and now everything doesn't have to be so, high octane.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely an amazing. It's like it's a bit of a coping mechanism, and it's a bit of an escape, in a good way, in a positive way.
Right.
I think that some people might have so much anxiety when they're in a fight that they may not even be able to do much of anything really. They're just walking around, with that anxiety all day.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
That's very debilitating.
Yeah, that's why I practice yoga. Like I noticed a significant like lack of anxiety today from just getting up early and just doing those those poses in that hot room, and I just noticed it's really amazing. And I'm like we talked before about like asana addiction, and I'm really fascinated with that because I looked it up and there's not a lot of people talking about it. I saw some like little articles about people just sort of mentioning it, but nothing like I feel like it's a spiritual sort of conundrum than a lot of people have looked at.
Well, I think a lot of people really want asana practice to be spiritual, and they want to claim this spiritual persona from doing the asana practice. But asana is supposed to prepare you, and then you're supposed to do the spiritual work.
Yeah.
It's supposed to wear you out, so you don't have all of this erratic, pent-up energy.
Yeah.
Where you could then still your mind and do a little self-inquiry.
Yeah.
Like, why am I behaving this way?
Yeah.
Some people don't need the asana to do that.
Yeah.
Some people naturally go within constantly, defragment their hard drive,
right,
and try and figure out what they can do better. Unfortunately, a lot of people, maybe they are addicted to the asana, and none of it helps lessen their ego. It actually has the opposite effect. Like, I know a lot of people who do yoga, maybe they even have a yoga studio, and they're extremely self-centered. And not kind sometimes. And I'm not talking about anyone specific. I'm talking about throughout the years, I've encountered many yoga studio owners who really have no spiritual practice. All they do is asana. So it's funny that you're like, it's a spiritual thing to do yoga. Yoga, the word yoga means to unite. And I've heard yoga teachers talk about how that means to unite in a class together. That's not what that means at all. It's to unite all of the different parts of yourself and become one whole person. Because we don't just have one ego, we actually have thousands of egos.
Whoa.
Playing out in different archetypes. Whoa. So you have to take all those archetypical constructs and create yourself in a way as a whole being.
The self.
The true self, not these individual egos that you embody when necessary.
Right.
Right?
Like, who am I today? You ever that feeling?
Who do I need to be to get through this situation? I'm going to go buy a car, so I'm going to be the negotiator. Right? It doesn't always have to be something toxic,
Right.
But these are egos. These are ego identities that we could create on command.
Yeah.
I always, even with hypnotherapy, I try to have a person create the fully healed version of themselves. What would that be like? What kind of energy would that person embody? Right?
It's a beautiful thought, yeah.
Yeah, and I forget to do these practices myself. I could be in some type of dramatic situation with a family member or something like that, and the next thing you know, I forget to embody the fully healed version of myself, and I'm going into the child version of myself, or the victim version of myself, or the confrontational version of myself, or the aggressive, egotistical, controlling version of myself, right?
Yeah.
We have so many different versions of ourselves. So put that in the perspective of having a relationship with somebody who also has thousands of egos.
Yeah.
You really don't know who you're going to get on any given day.
You ever need a certain version of yourself to come out, or you hope they will, and it just like you can't get it to come out? Like
Absolutely.
A lot of the time at social events, I'm like, where is that like chatty Kathy version of me? Like, I can't talk to anybody right now. And then and then you'll be chatty one day and be like, all right, where were you when I needed you?
You know, believe it or not, like even astrology is going to have an effect on that too. You know, like if you're, you know, if you have like a Mercury squaring Jupiter, you know, maybe your communication is all going to be within, and you're going to be, even though what's going on is so big, you might not even be able to express it because you're in a tense square instead of a trine or something like that, or some more harmonious aspect.
Yeah.
So even astrology will fuck you up.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Because there's always things like that that are unexplainable to me. Why is this part of myself not sort of, why can't I like summon it on command, like what's going on? And, you know, the only thing I could think of is that it would be some sort of astrological outcome, you know?
That's why state change is so important, like being able to master the state that you're in. You have to really like wake up and spend an hour or more getting yourself in the state that you want to be in order to face the world that day. And that begins again the following morning, and it doesn't change. It becomes a practice where I'm going to regulate my state today. And then you're going to be confronted with all kinds of like worldly events. And how do I maintain my state through this situation, right? Maybe somebody is suing you. How do you maintain kindness?
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
It's not, you know, I get knocked off, you know, off kilter pretty quick from certain things, you know. Even like maybe getting pulled over or something, like your mind is just like, I'm done. What am I gonna do? And it's like, you know, maybe that's the practice, is just to be, you know, when you're progressing, when you're able to stay calm in those situations.
Right.
That's when you know, you're like, oh, I'm actually doing the work. Like, I've had moments like that too, where I will be calm in a situation like that and be like, why am I calm right now? I'm like, you know what I mean? And it's I think that means you're doing the work. That's almost like a little nod to the universe. You know, you're able to handle this.
Yeah, you know, and that's interesting too, like doing the work. In partnership, usually one person wants their partner to do the work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You have to really want to do that for yourself.
Right.
Not for your partner. And you also don't want to tell your partner to do the work.
Yeah.
Like that's never
impossible.
First of all, it's never received well.
Yeah.
You know, not many people want to lead by example anymore. Everybody, not everybody, I don't like to generalize, but a lot of people, they're literally like asking for their partner to lead by example. Like, I really wish you would lead by example and do this. They don't even say it that way, but they basically say, I want you to act this way. If you act this way, that'll make me act the way you want me to act. But it doesn't necessarily work that way. You have to lead by example on both sides. If both partners are both leading by example, how could you really fault the other person ever? When there's a clear, distinct knowing that your partner is really trying to lead by example, that shows up really good in partnership, where you're just like, wow, I have so much admiration for my partner. He or she is always trying to lead by example, always trying to do the right thing, always trying to be supportive of others instead of putting himself or herself first all of the time.
Yeah.
You know, they call that having presence. You know, presence is something that not many people have anymore. You know, a lot of people want to hide and they don't want to be seen. And it's not because, you know, obviously people are very self-conscious, but there's also like a lack of understanding when it comes to the importance of presence, how important that actually is. You know, maybe, you know, sometimes a lot of people show up to my satsang and some people don't. Sometimes no one shows up. Did I lack presence that day? You know, if I have to be very honest with myself, maybe it was a day where I really lacked presence and then nobody showed up. And I'm not willing to look at that as the core reason why no one showed up. I'm quick to blame people just don't care, or people don't want this enough, or nobody's doing the work. Well, that's not true. I don't know what people are doing. That's a total assumption. I have no idea. Maybe they all went to a different satsang.
Right. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, or why, or how. Like,
it's really taking radical responsibility for yourself at all times.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're the root of all your own problems.
Yeah.
I notice in partnerships, a lot of partners think their partner is the root of all of their problems.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But they're the ones that chose the partnership. And they're the ones that are also not free of distortion. If you're not free of distortion, you're going to have a partner who's not free of distortion. Because if you were free of distortion, you wouldn't tolerate so much distortion.
That's an amazing sentence right there.
No, it's true. You know, I mean, there's really there's an idea of unconditional love being like a possibility, but it's not really a likely scenario.
Right, because you said before too, or Maharaji says that relationships are a business.
Right.
That's one really interesting
Relationships are business. Businesses have contracts and conditions. Right? If you do this, we're going to break up. If you do this, we're going to stay together.
There you go, yeah.
Those are conditions. You know, loving unconditionally, it's beyond human. It's beyond human capacity. That's something that God can do, right? You want to be more like God, yes, love unconditionally, but you are going to get destroyed in the process. You're going to get your feelings hurt left and right. I'm sure you probably could think of a lot of people who think they have to love unconditionally.
Yeah, that's always what people say.
Right. They're martyring
somebody
themselves.
who unconditionally loves you, and that's not always the answer, because it's unconditionally loving. Like, what are you gonna love somebody who's fucking a terrible person, like just being crazy? Like, you have to have some like discernment.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Love someone unconditionally who abuses you.
Right, exactly.
Or abuses.
Well, you can love them from a distance then. You have to, sometimes people can only appreciate you from a distance. Sometimes you have to let people appreciate you from a distance, and that's it.
For me, like a good tool for a situation like that is like, if you can't do something for a person, do it for God, right? So let's say, somebody is abusive, and you need to let them know, and there's no way for you to let them know. You could hand that situation over to God and say, God, this is what's happening with my partner. I'm handing it over to you. And small miracles can happen. Small miracles can happen. It may not play out the way you planned. It could create a little more drama. Super dry today. Yeah, but here's the thing about drama that's actually good. Fights are not a bad thing. Because when you're fighting with somebody, you could become your most raw, honest self in that moment, where now maybe you have no filter, maybe you're going to get yourself into a little bit of trouble, but maybe it's something you really needed to express and your partner really needed to hear. So it's really like, what happens after that's important. How do we now recover from it in a way where we recover and we correct? You have to have some kind of correction.
Right.
Not just pointing out each other's flaws without any kind of correction.
Right.
Most people fail the correction part. They fail to start that part. It's they may have absolutely no awareness that they're doing that. And then the same problem comes back around full circle months later. And it's so hard to recover from things like that. You really have to have that clear and direct communication in the appropriate time, and before it's not too late.
Yeah. Yeah, some things are coming up, like when I left my old apartment, because me and my brother were living together, and like just about loving somebody. Sometimes you have to love people from a distance, and it makes your relationship better to create that space. Like, you know, me and my brother were fighting a lot, and now that we have our own space, separate places, like we are. I like think about it. I'm like, oh, I love that guy. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, now that there's that space, I'm like, oh, yeah, we fought. That's cool that we fought. Like I don't even care anymore. You know?
Yeah.
That's cool that happened. Like whatever.
Well, the distance. This is what's interesting about the distance. You know, it takes away the physical closeness. So now you're able to look at that person's soul, their spirit, their energy.
Yeah.
Instead of their personality and their physical presence.
Yeah.
Now you're left with their spiritual essence.
Wow.
You know, and you're really connecting with that on more of like an astral plane than on this physical plane.
Yeah, having to deal with all their neuroses and the OCD and all crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's all personality.
Right.
Right. So when you take that away, you remember that person's spiritual essence. You can feel it. It's like it's almost physical. And then you could. That's so much easier to accept. That's why when things are tense between partners, it is good to have some space.
Totally.
You know, take a day to yourself. Go to a nature park. Go visit some friends.
Do something creative.
Do something else.
Yeah.
You know, one day without your partner, 2 days, one whole week, it's not going to kill you. It's actually going to bring you closer together. There's always like crazy siren activity over here during the day.
It's a crazy place. It's probably like one of the calmest places.
Yeah, this is a very calm place, but not when that happens. So, you know, I feel bad for, I know that you're single by choice right now, and you know, I know there's a lot of people out there who want to meet somebody. That's, I wouldn't want to be in that situation, honestly. I'm not saying that to you because I don't want you to feel bad, but to me, that's a very tough one.
But it's a tough one, but it's something that people have to go through, you know? Like, so you have to, you know, we've all had points where we're single and we're out there like looking desperately for somebody. We've all felt that.
Right.
So
I've definitely been there.
So there's a lot of things that you could learn from that state, you know, there's
yeah. I definitely learned how to stand on my own more.
Totally.
And to do things alone. Like taking a yoga class or going out for breakfast, you know. Yeah. There are people who will not leave the house unless they're with somebody else. Codependency, you know.
Yeah.
Or anxious attachment, right?
Right. There was a time when I was uncomfortable to, like, you know, be doing my own thing, you know, and it's such an opportunity, you know, and you're kind of blessed if you could realize that, because it's in this culture, in the society, I feel like I don't know, there's always like this push of like it's weird to be alone or something like that, you know, the loner, like what are they doing?
I mean, there's like other countries that literally publicly shame people who are single after the age of 30.
Oh wow.
They like pour cinnamon on you or something.
Cinnamon?
I'm serious. It was like Denmark, something like that.
Right.
They publicly shame you for not having a partner. Well, why settle for somebody that you're not in love with or you're not attracted to?
Totally.
Right? And then to meet somebody like that, you are trying to find a needle in a haystack. But the thing that I really believe that there's somebody out there that is in complete alignment with you. It's just time hasn't revealed that person yet.
I've actually had that thought recently where I actually feel the presence of my partner with me.
Right. I understand that, yeah.
And it's sort of just allowing yourself to still be just as happy, like doing your own thing.
Yes.
And like realizing like that partner who you're going to like spend the rest of your life with is there, and you have to have that confidence that they're there already.
Yeah.
And then this way, like when they actually are there physically, you're gonna be, still you've maintained and built yourself up to a level where, like we were saying before, you're not like, what were we saying, just about being dependent or something on your partner.
Codependency.
You have to
anxious attachment.
Yeah, like you have to be like healed, not healed. I don't remember which word we used, but it was something along the lines of like healed, or else you're gonna find somebody who reflects your
free
distortions.
Of distortion.
Yeah, free of distortion.
Nobody's free of distortion.
Right.
But there are certain distortions you should be free from before involving someone else in your life.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But do you think that having that feeling that there is this person, I could feel them, I don't know what they look like yet, they haven't been revealed to me, but do you think that you might be, I'm not saying you personally, but do you think that a person might say, well, maybe that's them, or maybe that's them, or maybe that's them, as soon as someone remotely attractive walks into a room, you might like be ready to pounce,
Sure.
So you have to have a certain degree of being reserved in a way, and like really being patient and saying, okay, that's a person that I feel an initial attraction to, but I don't really know if they're the one.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be further and further revealed.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes people will start overvaluing things about someone they don't even know.
Yeah. That's like common practice, I feel like, in this society.
Oh man, it's so common.
That's
so common.
Definitely.
Well, people will look at a person and look at their needs and say, oh, this person could possibly meet these needs because they fit this certain kind of criteria.
Yeah.
And then the one time they don't meet that need, there's total devaluation of that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it comes to like a level of maturity of just knowing like this. You could like laugh at yourself and just be like, this person isn't going to like do anything for me. I need to do everything for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like this person, I should be like the servant. Almost like I should be the one who's like I could offer. Like it should be like reciprocal instead of being like they can meet my needs. Be like, why isn't it like, oh, we could both like rise together. I could help them. They could help me. Like, you need to meet on like an even playing field to like, you can't like be reaching up or down for people type thing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You shouldn't have any needs from somebody else.
Right.
Actually, that's like such a controversial thing. Like, I've said this to people and they've literally gotten angry with me. Like, you can't have needs that you need from somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
They say, this intimate connection is a human need, right? It's not a want, it's not a desire, it's a need. Mm-hmm. Science will literally say that it's a need.
Oh.
But is it? If you're a monk, you're renunciating the need for another partner, and they're surviving, they're thriving, really.
Right.
Those people live a very long time, over 100.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Some of these Babas are like 175-year-old Baba in India.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It is fascinating.
They don't have needs.
Yeah.
What if the less you need, the longer you live?
Yeah.
That's a paradox, right?
The less you,
Well, a need consumes so much energy.
Yeah.
So where do you think that energy's coming from?
From source?
No, it's our own energy that we're using. It's called there's a word for it. It starts with a C.
Chi?
It's not chi. No. It's not. It doesn't start with a C. It's exertion.
Okay.
It's exertion. You're exerting yourself constantly with these needs.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah.
It's exhausting. It is. You're 100% right. So when you don't have any needs, you have all this energy. Now you have enough energy for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
When all you have is needs, you can't be present for your partner at all.
Yeah. And they could tell when you lack that presence, and it's not going to feel good for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, imagine somebody comes into me for a therapy session, and I have all these needs that I have to have from them.
Yeah, right.
Well, they have to be a good client. They have to be this. They have to, you know, they have to be this tall, they have to have this type of payment from me, blah blah blah. I mean, those are stupid examples, but I'm already coming at the person with a list of needs. How am I supposed to help them?
Right. I felt that before at like offices. Like, why does this person need a lot from me here? I'm supposed to be coming here for a service. Like,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I need you to write a review for me.
Right.
Like, I know there's an office that competes with mine that like forces everyone to come in to give a review. I mean, that's why when I see somebody with like 250 reviews and everyone else has 50, I know what type of person that is. That doesn't mean they're the best.
Right.
It means they're the most aggressive when asking others to fulfill a need for them,
right,
instead of actually being in service. Maybe. You know, obviously I'm assuming a lot there, but there's a strong possibility that that's true. You know, I just counseled someone the other day, and I was, you know, they kept circling back that like, I need this, I need that, I need more business, I need more clients, I need this, I need that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're making it all about you. I want to help more people, and I will. I want to hold space for people, and I will. Now you're inviting that in. But if you're just like, I need more clients, like, there's no invitation there. That's like a demand letter.
You're no different from like United Healthcare.
Right.
they're like, we need more sick people, you know?
Yeah, we need more money, really. That's all they care about. They don't want sick people.
Or just insurance, health insurance in general, I mean.
Yeah. We want healthy people that never need our service who will give us money.
Right.
That's their business model. But all they have is they're the ones with the need in that situation. See, people are under the impression that they need the insurance policy. That's the need they're coming to the table with.
Right.
And then the insurance company needs the money. So you have two needs just beating the shit out of each other. Right? So what do you think you have in other relationships? You have two people with tons of needs. No one's meeting each other's needs because it's not possible.
Yeah.
And then people just get angry with each other, and then the relationship falls apart.
Yeah. Yep. Something that came to mind is sort of the soul's journey. Like, you know, we're, as of we see it right now, like, we're one consciousness going towards something continuously through many lives, I believe. And it's interesting, like, we come into these relationships throughout our lives, and even if you have a lifelong relationship with somebody, it really was just like a lesson. Like, it's going to fade away, and like, there's, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you could hold on to in this life besides sort of your own journey, like your own awareness, your own consciousness. You know, like, even if you have this lifelong relationship, so that's like was ideal for a number of years, you know, decades.
Well, it's a value, you know, it becomes a value. So it is important that we live in our values. We actually become our values, right? So if long-term partnership is something you value, you have to become a really good long-term partner.
Right. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, just the idea that you're going to be able to, like, have somebody and possess them is like a false idea, basically.
Oh, absolutely. That's just control. That's not love.
Right. So I'm just thinking, you know, like, the meaning of a relationship in this life is really, it's just kind of another lesson. Like you could meet somebody and have a small conversation with them in a grocery store, and that could have almost as much impact on you as like a decade-long relationship. You know what I mean? Like, you never know how potent, like we're just, like, me and you even talking right now, it's like this interaction and this relationship is, they're all so important. Like, we just because a romantic relationship is romantic doesn't make it any more or less important than a best friend, or you know? And I feel like that's just really important to know.
Do you know the Beatles song "In My Life"?
Yeah, I love that song.
That kind of
a beautiful one.
Basically describes what we're talking about in a nice, harmonious way.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But oh man, I had a really good thought about this and kind of left me.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, everything is a lesson.
Yeah, totally.
Everything in life.
Totally. I just said that because I feel like it's important to remind myself too that it's, you know, this thing that we're like, that you might be striving for, of like wanting this ideal partner or something. It's, you know, it's not necessarily real in a way. Like, I know you always say don't say, you know, real, because it's in reference to what, but it's, you know, it's not the most important thing, I suppose.
Well, let's try to break that down a little bit. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, what would be the most important thing?
I'd say the relationship with Source, and sort of like you said about uniting all your egos. I feel like that's,
yeah. The relationship with God is up there.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing you can do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like, you know, the importance of a one-on-one intimate relationship. Mm-hmm. You know, Ram Dass would say, relationship is the highest yoga. Mm-hmm. So it's the ultimate teacher. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something worth valuing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, your relationship with God is probably the ultimate relationship you can have. Mm-hmm. Then you have this relationship with a partner, and it's almost like you're taking the test for God. It's like the pre-test, and then there's the test, right? Mm. Relationship is like a pre-test. The bigger relationship is the relationship with God. So if you put the relationship with God first, you're going to have a much easier relationship with your partner. Mm. Because if you're doing everything as if you're in the presence of God all the time, you're going to do a lot less shitty things to your partner. Mm. The thing that's helped me help people the most is a relationship with God and a relationship with the teachings, like Kabbalistic teachings, are number one for me, but then yoga, and then Buddhism, and Taoism. All of those teachings, they're supposedly spiritual teachings, but they're really like instructions for life, right? And you have a relationship with God, and you have a relationship with those teachings. Then you can have a better relationship with your partner, and overall a better relationship with yourself, and a better relationship with life. Mm-hmm. So, like, remember the other day we were at the kirtan, and there was somebody there with like special needs, and they were being really hard on themselves. Mm-hmm. He was saying he really blames himself for everything. Mm-hmm. So I told him, you didn't design yourself, right? That was very profound for him. That's just a teaching. Yeah. That's just from my repertoire of teachings. I don't own that. Yeah. But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to help that person in such a profound way. Yeah. That's why we have to have a really solid relationship with our teachings. Yeah, our practice. Right. Whether it's yoga, Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, Sufism, everything, Judaism, whatever, Islam, whatever your teaching is, implement that into your life in a positive way. Yeah. Obviously, you don't want to become an extremist in some way where you're like, causing harm or trying to control others. But use the teaching for what it's intended to be used for. Right. It's, having some sort of practice, it allows you to sort of turn things into not a suffering experience for yourself, but more of like an opportunity. I feel like that's the biggest thing. Yeah, like, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. Right, right. How do you envision finding the partner, or the partner finding you? Have you thought about this, or no? If you haven't, it's fine. I mean,
well, I think that's the reason I'm even here is to sort of keep reading the book and then be surprised. Like what's I could try to visualize it and everything, but throughout my whole life, I've always met amazing, beautiful people really without even trying. So I mean, that's
right.
I'm just excited. All I can do is now is just be excited and be happy.
Yeah.
Because I've always just done what I do and what I love creatively, which is like painting and just yoga and different things, and I always end up just having amazing people being placed in my life.
So do you feel that that's just natural for you, or do you tend to like want to work on being magnetic in a way? Or a little bit of both?
I like making people laugh. I don't want to like. I don't have any need to like. I wouldn't. Those videos you see pop up on YouTube, how to be magnetic. I don't feel like I have a need to try that, but I like to. I'd want to find ways to just be more humorous and like wear life a little bit less tightly. Just go through a little bit more with less anxiety, with and make people feel comfortable in my presence. Anybody, friend or partner, just that's my dream. I envision myself, walking in somewhere and just people just feeling like good.
Yeah. It's having like a pureness in your energy without ulterior motives, and just wanting to be present for others and bringing them light.
Right.
I want to bring the light to this person, or to all people.
Totally. Well, I feel like laughing and humor is like I've always thought that it's just the absolute best thing. I really do. I think it's the best possible thing. The best times of my life have just been just crying laughing. Those are the times where I'm like, that is like what I strive for.
Yeah.
I love that, and more than anything, it's beautiful.
Well, what's interesting is we're designed to receive that. Serotonin is released when we're laughing. It's the hormone, the neurotransmitter that gives us a sense of well-being and joy and pleasure. We need to laugh. Laughing is more of a need than sex.
Yeah.
It really is. But more people are focused on sex than laughing. Nobody's like, oh man, I really need to laugh today. Right? I really need to find someone who will make me laugh.
Yeah.
Most people are like, I need to find this sexual release.
Totally. Just being in my own space now with my apartment and everything, I find myself just being able to just laugh out loud without seeming like a crazy person, because there's nobody else there, and it's just the best feeling. It's just like it's just the funniest feeling, just being.
Is that from like watching funny movies or something?
It's everything. It's from listening to podcasts. It's from just thoughts that come up. Sometimes it's just out of like almost like holy crap, I'm here type energy. Like just oh my god, like this is like hilarious that I'm really like doing this.
Man, I used to laugh so easily and freely all the time, and as I've gotten older, less and less makes me laugh. And I think that's actually kind of sad. It's like I want to laugh easily at things.
Totally. Yeah.
It's hard to get me to laugh. I'll watch comedy with my wife, and she'll be surprised when I laugh out loud. And like I really thought about that, and I'm like, I don't want to be that way. But that's become the norm for me. It's more natural. I have like an inner laugh going on.
You should take some nitrous oxide.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Huff some nitrous.
Or just huff something.
Where would I get that?
I don't know. Maybe Frank.
Oh, man. They have that at the Grateful Dead concerts, I guess. Well, now they're what are they now? They're not the Grateful Dead anymore. Right?
Dead and Company.
Something like that.
But dude, I want to see you laughing more. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's.
I like to make people laugh. I was with friends the other day, and I was making them laugh. I was talking about the Whole Foods parking lot.
Totally.
And this guy, Chris, is like, "You're so funny, man." And I'm like, "I'm just being basic right now."
Just basic.
Yeah. I like when people tell me I'm funny. I feel like I'm doing a good job.
Totally. Yeah.
Humor is like built. I'm Jewish, obviously. Not everyone knows that, apparently, but I thought it was kind of obvious. But humor is like a big part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make people laugh. The Jews like to make you laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to make someone laugh than for them to hate you.
Right.
For no reason. Or for whatever reason. You know, I'm sure there are reasons. But yeah, we would rather make people laugh.
You made a bunch of people laugh the other day at the Kirtan. I forgot what you said. Yeah, you said something funny. I don't know if it was the Bill Gates thing.
Oh. But I said if I designed myself, I would look like Jason Momoa.
There you go, yeah. Everybody cracked up.
That was a good one. That was a good one. I've used that one before. But, yeah, we didn't design ourselves. So, we're walking around looking for a perfect partner with all of our own flaws that we didn't even create. Because we didn't create ourselves, we didn't design ourselves. So we have to lower our expectations a little bit, you know? I think I've seen people with really, really high standards and expectations for other human beings to live up to, and they base it on, well, I work really hard, and I've made this living for myself, and I have all this money, and I work out, and I do this, so I expect somebody to do all of that even better than me, because I don't want to be dating someone beneath me, right? That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's one mindset. I mean, I don't think everybody has that.
No, definitely not everyone.
But
I'm just saying,
yeah.
I'm just saying I've seen people with that mindset.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, the ideal is really just like somebody who supports and also takes care of their own business and has hobbies going on and things that they're passionate about. Like we just want support, right? Yeah,
I mean, well, there's got to be this chemistry between you and the other person. You know, I've done a lot of synastry astrology reports, which is when you put the two couples, stick their charts next to each other, and you look at the aspects that they have between the planets. Okay. And all couples have a lot of different aspects that you can't overlook, that these people were definitely brought together for very specific reasons. You know, some people might have a Chiron relationship, which is a relationship all about uncovering wounds and healing them together. Some people have a sun-moon relationship, or an ascendant sun relationship, where they have this, like, maybe I'm like, for instance, I'm a Sagittarius rising, my sun is a Sagittarius sun. My sun is a Capricorn moon, and I'm a Capricorn sun. I'm a Capricorn sun, and my wife is a Capricorn moon. My wife's a Scorpio rising, and her sun is Scorpio in the 12th house. My Scorpio is in Uranus in the 12th house, right? So these things are all in alignment with each other for a reason, because the planets bring people together.
Whoa.
Which is why I was saying the planets are like a big clock. Like, if you look at the solar system, we're inside a clock.
Whoa.
Because we're inside time. When you go outside of the solar system, there's no clock. That's why time is different outside of the solar system. So time is what reveals everything to us here. Outside of the solar system, everything is already revealed.
Wow. I'm just taking that in.
That's heavy, I know.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So if the planets have somebody for you already, you don't really need to do any work to get that person. They're going to come into your life or not.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say, like, oh, I met this person and maybe I wasn't prepared for them and that's why they left me, and they blame themselves. Okay, maybe you had some addiction problems, maybe you had some behavioral issues. Sure, that could have pushed that person away, but maybe that's all that encounter was really meant for. You know, there's probably still some type of long-term companion out there.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, you know, I've had situations happen where I'll meet somebody and I'll meet them a year later, 2 years later, and they'll have a different haircut, and we'll like, you know, it'll be like a whole different relationship almost, like almost as if they like it's a bizarre feeling because you knew them, but they appeared as like a new person.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, that's the chemistry, the sexual chemistry. Because,
right.
You know, maybe their hair changed that level of attraction for you.
It's bizarre though. It really feels like they like appeared. Like, you know, you're just like, what the frick, like, you know.
And they may have done. They may have had an energy about them, and as they healed and went on their journey, and their energy has now increased. Their vibration has risen in a way where now they seem like a totally different person.
And then there's also the opposite too, where you'll have interactions with this person, have a relationship with this person, and they change to somebody that you know, and it's just like that is almost like seeing what you're saying about the planets. It's almost like, you know, the universe will put somebody in your life, and then like I don't know, it almost like shows you.
Well, all of those changes are also according to astrological transits. You know, we're all going to go through changes when we have our Saturn return, when we have our Chiron return, when we have our Neptune squaring our natal Neptune, or our Pluto return. All of these are all karmic returns, right? So as we go through sorry, I needed a drink. As we go through this wheel of karma, we're changing. It's a natural progression. So, yeah, maybe you weren't meant to be with somebody at that stage of their cycle, but now they're in a new cycle. Now they're meant for you, right? The stars are aligning differently.
Right, and it's a mind-blowing feeling, though. I don't know if you ever had that, but it's very interesting.
I've had the opposite, where there was this girl that I went to middle school with, and she was like my best friend, but I really wanted to date her. And she always dated all of these real, like, kind of not the greatest people, right? And after we became adults, and she was a teacher and living in the city and blah blah blah, we went out and had a couple of dates, and I wasn't interested, even though this is someone I was like pining over as a young, you know, teenager.
Yeah.
But as an adult, there were too many red flags where I was like, no way.
Yeah.
She also smoked a lot of cigarettes. That's big
tough.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing thing when you see that shift. You're just like, what the hell, you know?
It is. People have progressions, and people also degress. They can go down a slippery slope too.
Yeah.
These are obvious things, but you never know. I mean, we all have our own story to live out.
Right.
Like where in your story does the partner come in and then adds to your story, right? It has to be revealed to us.
Yeah.
I don't really think like all the dating site stuff and the hookup culture and everything, I feel like that's just a distraction.
I agree, yeah. Do you think there's what part of us, or is it even us that's sort of writing the story? Like, are we on a higher level writing the story, or is it just kind of out of our control? It's the universe, it's God, it's creator writing the story.
Well, I think, you know, the story has momentum from previous karma, but originally the story is the story of creation, and we're just part of that.
Yeah.
So the universe was created, and all of that momentum created us and our lives, and all of the formation of all the planets, and the distance, and the position. It's going to determine different events in history. And on a smaller level, it'll affect our lives on an individual basis. So it is by design. You know, there's proof too. Physicists have proved that the universe has to have been designed.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, there would be no life here on this planet.
Yeah.
it looks as if it was designed specifically to cause life here on Earth.
Yeah.
You know,
I get that, yeah.
What's his name? The guy who Nick went to the symposium.
Yeah, Tom Campbell.
Tom Campbell. He said that.
Yeah.
He said that on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Just keep saying it.
Joe Rogan. Just say it for the algorithm.
Guess who we're having on next? Cat Williams.
Yeah. We got to invite Joe Rogan on the podcast. I think he'll come.
You might. This is a nice studio. I'd like to chill here if I was a famous podcaster.
I mean, the people at home don't even get to see the rest of the studio because I have such shitty camera equipment.
Well, we got the new angle, so that might be...
Yeah, we got the wide angle.
That might be what we needed.
That wide angle, man. It's like a different dimension, right?
So, I feel like you know a lot of things. And I don't say that like you're a know-it-all. Like, you genuinely know a lot. There's only a limit to how much you could know, obviously. But you do know a lot about how things work on a deep level. Like, you know, how does that feel? Like, because you know a lot of like secrets of the universe. You know, how does that feel? You know,
it could be very maddening sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I also have issues with like a lot of synchronicity where I'll have a thought and then something will occur in my reality like the same day, an hour later, or a day later, or then something else will be revealed to me through another person, and it'll be synchronistic with what I saw. That could also drive you a little crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
It sounds like it, yeah.
Because it makes reality seem like somebody's playing a trick on you. And I don't want to look at it that way, but you know, I could try to laugh about it. But I'm kind of serious, you know. I'm a Capricorn. I wish I wasn't so serious. If I was like a little more easygoing, I think it would benefit me more. But I feel like it's just because I have a mission to help people, you know, and because of that, I needed knowledge. You can't help people without knowledge. So, you know, it's not even, I don't even know why. I mean, I know why. I know a lot, but sometimes it works in a good way, in a positive way, and it could also have a negative manifestation as well. It could manifest things in a negative way for me too.
Right.
Because there's a reality that we could be wisdom over love. And when I say we, I mean me. Right? I could be more wisdom over love, where I'm less in touch with my own feelings and I'm more in touch with like wisdom.
Okay, yeah. Have you ever seen the episode of SpongeBob where Patrick gets like a new brain and he's like really serious? Oh, you never watched SpongeBob, I guess?
I mean, no, Gideon likes SpongeBob, but I never got into SpongeBob.
Yeah, so like they're two dummies, like SpongeBob and Patrick, like, you know, and they just like mess around all day, like they're stupid. And then Patrick like gets this like new brain because he falls and his head falls off, and all of a sudden he's like super smart. And then they can't be friends anymore because he's like you know what I mean? He's like too smart. I haven't seen the episode in a minute, but I feel like SpongeBob is just ingrained into my head. There's like really deep teachings in that show.
I'm sure there are.
Kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's interesting because that does happen to people.
Yeah, because he like Patrick can't be silly anymore. He's like, and so SpongeBob is like, you know, he's like, I'm trying to go like jellyfishing and do all this like stupid stuff we used to do, you know, roll down a hill and all that. And he's like, Patrick's just like, this isn't fun to me anymore, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some deep wisdom in that. Actually.
It is. It's a good one. I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
it's a good episode.
Yeah, it's interesting when like cartoons that you would assume have no like value as far as like I'm gonna learn something from this. They fool you every time.
Yeah. So some of the really quality ones, you know, with good writing. I mean, yeah, man, it'll be. You could learn some really like deep teachings in there, definitely.
I believe it, but there is truth that like the more wisdom you develop, the less fun you might have. So that's why I'm like, is it really like this great gift in a way? You know, does it really keep me out of trouble? Absolutely not. It probably gets me into more trouble because I want to test people on an intellectual level when I'm seeking control. And I don't want to seek control, but we all want comfort, you know, and when we want comfort, we seek control. It's something that we all have to fight. But none of us are really immune from that, even like if it's a very subtle need for control, whatever it is. The smarter you are, the more manipulative you become.
Yeah.
And that gets you into trouble with people. People don't trust you. I'm not saying that I'm not a trustworthy person, but I can see the other side of it, you know? That's why you have to really have even more control over yourself the more intelligent you are. Like you see, like Elon, sometimes he'll like go online and get himself into trouble.
Totally.
He'll say something about like a stock, or he'll say something about a politician, and he'll get himself into trouble, even if what he's saying is very true. You know, because people don't value the truth as much as they value the controversy. People don't like being called out on things. People value being incognito with their distortions over truth. So if somebody calls that out, like if I call out somebody's distortions, then I could be the bad guy in that person's view.
Yeah.
Even though I'm helping them. Maybe 6 months later, they'll realize that I tried to help them, but we may never talk again. They may not want to be my friend.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I really like that that little quote you just dropped. When we want comfort, we seek control.
Yeah.
That's big. That's key.
Yeah.
To my understanding.
It's true. And relationship could be comfort. I want the comfort of
totally.
a relationship that I can rely on.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? We're going to try to control it. That's the first thing that people try to do, is control their partner.
Yeah.
Even if it's very subtle, even if it could be highly manipulative. The more you need, the more manipulative you're going to be. So, you know, how many people are really seeking a spiritual relationship and actually knowing that this is what it's going to involve? Yeah.
Level of release of control and that type of thing?
Well, a lot of people I know in the like yoga community, the spiritual community, bhakti community, whatever, they're seeking a conscious relationship.
Right, yeah.
Right? Conscious relationship is also controversy. Right? Conscious and controversy are pretty close.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's going to be controversy between you and your partner all the time.
Yeah.
That's what a real yoga relationship actually is. Two people who are triggering each other all the time, but healing through that triggering.
Yeah.
Trigger, an opportunity, and a healing.
Yeah.
That could all happen more than once in a day.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why conscious relationships are actually the hardest relationships. An easy relationship would be a completely unconscious relationship where it's just for one reason, either pleasure or fun or whatever. But there's some growth there, because maybe that's something you need, and now that your need is met, you could use that energy for something else, for spirituality or whatever. But that relationship, you know, who knows? Who knows? You know, is it an important relationship in your life? Is it just a stepping stone? Everybody's different.
Right. I feel like coming together with a person that when you both have a practice, it really is unlike any other relationship. It's very interesting, the way everything kind of unfolds. And there's almost an understanding of like, I don't know, there's this feeling like this never is really going to end, because we both have like this root of being. So we kind of already understand that we're all one. Like you can't really ever like leave somebody per se. Like they're always going to be like with you in a way. That experience, that lesson that you carry onto, like I was saying before, like you continuously carry on to your next life or into your next experience.
We're all carrying our previous partnerships with us.
Yeah, especially like when it's like sort of a spiritual partnership.
Yeah, that's why like people who date hundreds of people to a point where they don't even remember some of the people they dated.
Totally, yeah.
I mean, like, what's your take on that?
That's me right now. No, I'm kidding. What's my take on that? It's a different journey. You know, it's a different journey. It's chaotic. Some people might like chaotic, the chaotic nature of it.
I find that those are people who are very highly distorted.
Yeah, I mean, some people like doing cocaine and ecstasy and drugs and getting crazy, and some people don't. Some people like to do asana. You know, it's you know, just different path, different lessons,
catalysts,
right?
But usually, like, look at like Russell Brand. You know, he had sex addiction. Now he's a born again Christian.
Yeah.
Like, the greater the sinner, the greater the saint.
Yeah, I love that one.
But hopefully, we would hope that for them.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody makes it to that. They may be the biggest sinner and then die, and then in their next lifetime, there's this, I want to say, what is the word?
Redemption?
Redemption, yes. Yeah. Good job. Thank you. Yeah, they have to redeem themselves, or they do redeem themselves.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
To redemption.
I'm gonna say I think we did like 2 hours. I feel like this was a long one. We got hour and a half around.
It seems like we're always making it to that hour and a half mark.
Yeah.
That's about all I've got for today.
But I think we talked about a lot of stuff.
Tomorrow night we got Frank the Tank coming in hard. My prediction is that episode will break the internet. It's gonna bend time and space. It's going to fold different dimensions.
I can't wait to see what happens.
There's going to be astral projection. There's going to be...
floating through walls and standing on heads.
Yep, standing on heads. It's going to be sick.
Yeah,
wait. Tune in. We're going to upload this one tonight, but tune in Monday night too for episode 5. Higher dimensions, baby. Higher D.
Higher D.
Higher D.